Something's wrong.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, she just walked in.
Did you?
Okay.
Yes, it is.
We have to
Waiting on a
as far as
train.
we could go and hang on. Oh, can you get in? Then you gotta sign a proclamation. It's for
Always the train's full.
Okay, now that we're all here, the first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the prior meeting. Oh, yes. I do note the presence of a quorum, Madam Clerk. You concur
I confirm the presence of a quorum.
with 100% in attendance. And then on to approval of minutes. The first item is the approval of the minutes. I'm sorry, the approval of the agenda. The agenda was circulated. Is there any change requested to the agenda, or is the agenda acceptable? Acceptable?
Acceptable.
All? Okay. Moving on, approval of minutes from the prior meeting. Those were circulated. Are there any comments, questions about the minutes, or is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Is there a
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So the minutes are approved. Looking at the rest of the agenda, we have a proclamation and then public input. I'd first like to go to the swearing in of the firefighters so that those who are here to witness that can see that. And then we'll move on with the rest of the agenda. If there's no opposition, we'll make that change. Is that okay? So, Chief, can you give us, can you give us some background on these proposed volunteer firefighters?
Absolutely, yes, thank you, Mayor. We have two members that we're putting before council tonight. The first is Anton Gentry Sr. We're excited because Anton is coming back to us after a little bit of a leave. He and his family moved down to Atlanta, Georgia the last couple of years, where he was a career firefighter down there, and work brought them back to Cincinnati. So we were one of his first calls and said, hey, I want to come back, and we said absolutely. So he is a firefighter EMT, so he's going to hit the ground running with us and hopefully pick up right where he left off. The next is Corey Gabbard. Corey is from Hamilton, Ohio, graduated from Hamilton High School. He recently graduated from Butler Tech Fire Rescue Academy. He is also a firefighter EMT, so he will hit the ground running as well. So that's good. He does have some experience already from as a volunteer at the St. Clair Township Fire Department. He also, in his spare time, he enjoys playing hockey, so him and I will get along just fine on the ice rink together. So those are the two members that we have for council tonight.
Okay. So just to make it official, ordinance number 2024-13, an ordinance appointing a Glendale volunteer firefighters, establishing a 1-year probationary period, and declaring an emergency. Is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there a motion to dispense with the 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
For ordinance 2024-13, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-13, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll have the 2 volunteer firefighters step up and swear them in. Could I have them here in the middle, please? Okay. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do hereby swear.
I, Anton Gentry, I, Corey Gabbard, do solemnly swear
That I will support the Constitution of the United States
support the Constitution of the United States of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Ohio. You can go at the same time.
Constitution of the State of Ohio.
And I will faithfully and impartially discharge
faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of firefighter for the village of, volunteer firefighter for the village of Glendale. The duties of volunteer firefighter for the
the
village of
duties of
Glendale.
firefighter of Glendale.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Welcome back.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thanks again. Thank you again.
I'm still waiting for somebody to say aye, state your name, and then go forward.
Go forward. I'm waiting for the animal.
I think
All right.
we're all pretty happy.
So,
Yeah.
okay, thank you. So the next item on the agenda is a proclamation that was circulating. Could I
We
have
need
that
to
back?
circulate this
So
back.
we can read that. But we can, you can sign it after I read it.
Uh-oh.
Or not. Got a full agenda.
Becky is one for you.
So this is a proclamation that was actually read previously with a gathering of the paddle tennis championship team. It was read previously in a gathering of those gentlemen, but I promised that we would read it into the minutes tonight. So this is a proclamation celebrating the championship season of the 2023-2024 Glendale Lyceum Men's Division I Paddle Tennis Team. Oops. Got it. Okay, whereas the Glendale Lyceum has been an integral part of the village of Glendale since the Lyceum's founding in 1883 as an institution for learning, fellowship, literature, the arts, and social activities. And whereas the Glendale Lyceum later added racket sports and added paddle tennis in the 1950s, with teams competing in interclub and citywide leagues with other clubs in the Cincinnati area. And whereas the Glendale Lyceum Men's Division I Paddle Tennis Team has been one of the premier teams in the area since its founding, having won the Division I championship in the 2003-2004 season. And whereas the 2023-24 Glendale Lyceum Men's Division I Paddle Tennis Team competed in a league with 70 teams, ranked in Division I, the highest skilled level division, consisting of 9 of those 70 teams being the highest rated teams. Whereas the team competed very well, placing second in their division for the regular season, winning 13 of 16 games, and were seeded number 2 in the league championship tournament. Team members included Captain Tim Schraffenberger, Eric West, Chris Angulo, Danny Carollo, Evan Webler, Harrison Rogers, John Van Lokeren, Colin Warren, and Fabian Schmall and Bill Broughton. And whereas the team competed in and won the prestigious Cincinnati Division I League Championship Tournament, consisting of the league's top 4 teams, bringing the championship back to Glendale for the first time in over 20 years. Whereas the Glendale community is proud of the 2023-24 Glendale Lyceum Men's Division I Paddle Tennis Team's championship season and wishes to commemorate the success of the team. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the mayor and the council of the village of Glendale, Ohio, do hereby recognize and celebrate the championship season of the 2023-24 Glendale Lyceum Men's Division I Paddle Tennis Team. Be it further proclaimed that the mayor and the council of the village of Glendale, Ohio, call upon the people of the village of Glendale to celebrate the team's championship season. So I'll pass this around so those who haven't signed it, just in case, can sign it. So congratulations, I guess, is due to that team. All right, moving on. The next item on the agenda is public input. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to address council? Yes. please step forward, and Bill, would you, for the record, state your name and your address?
For the record, my name's Bill Parrish. I'm Executive Director of the Eckstein Cultural Arts Center at 220 East Sharon Road. It's good to be here tonight. I'm excited to be here because I hope to bring some good tidings to council. Over the past month and a half and concluding this week, the Eckstein Cultural Arts Center has been working closely and diligently with the Cincinnati Enquirer, developing a page 1 feature highlighting the significance of the underground, the role that the village of Glendale played in the Underground Railroad movement. February 25th, we were using the town hall to gather people to talk about the Underground Railroad in Glendale. Well, it was so many people who showed up or signed up because we had a limited amount of people that we could have, then it caused us to have another one. So we did a second one in this past Sunday, not this Sunday, but the 28th of April. And we had a ton of people come out. Now it's causing us to do another one. So we're planning to do that in June. But in the meantime, the Enquirer feature, which we've been really working diligently on, will launch on Father's Day, Sunday, June 16th. So mark your calendars. I think USA Today will be a part of this, and it's a big deal. 3 days, that's 3 days before Juneteenth, which is a national holiday on June 19th. That's Wednesday the 19th. On June 19th of the Juneteenth celebration, the Eckstein Cultural Arts Center, in partnership with the village of Woodlawn and with my good friend Matt Holman at Landmark Church, will be partnering to do Underground Railroad tours on that day. It's become so popular that they hadn't really put it out on the sign up on the made it live, but we already have the tours filled up. So I did want to say for the people who were able to attend the 28th event that we had, that all of those people that signed up, they will be a part of the tour. But unfortunately, we won't be able to get other people into the tours if you're not signed up already. But we're planning after that to develop some tours. So the celebration is a Woodlawn celebration largely, but last year they had over 6,000 people attend, and it was rainy. But this year we're really expecting to exceed that. But the fact that Matt is a good friend and we're partnering in this, we felt like the overflow that might go to Landmark, we're going to do sort of the tours are going to begin there, and we're going to do some things that are going to be really special. I'll come back and share what the details of those things are in June. But I was in Matt's office today, Mike, when you called. So we were sitting there talking when you called. So if the village of Glendale, I just want you kind of know this celebration is going to be huge. It's going to overflow into our village, and just wanted to make you aware. The Underground Railroad tour part of that, well, let me say the feature with the Cincinnati Enquirer, it will feature some of the homes in the village. So it's possible if you see your home in there, it's because we have, through our research, we have found that your home should be a part of this.
You have about a minute.
So, I'm sorry.
You have about a minute.
Okay. So I just wanted you to be aware of what's coming, and then when this whole Juneteenth thing come out, or when you see a front page feature in the Enquirer on Father's Day, you know, it's that you're not surprised. I'm on social media, so I try to communicate some of this to the community so that they're not surprised that when they see it, that they've kind of known on the discussion page or my own page and some of that. So just wanted to make council aware, and then I'll be back on June 1st to share the final details of what the Juneteenth celebration will be. Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Is there anyone else that wishes to address council?
Yes.
Okay, Kevin.
My name is Kevin Parrish, Bill's brother. Also a member of, resident of the village of Glendale. I'm happy that the auditor modified our public records agenda. So I put in a public records request. David complied immediately. It took him 1 day to comply for me to be able to view the records of the Oak Road detention pond project. After reviewing those records, which was submitted as a government project, I found some discrepancies or some inconsistencies. Basically, I was wondering, how do we pay $140,000 of Glendale's money on this project, which was bidded in at $158,450. And submitted as a government project, and it gave them some allowances to not have to report to some people, like the Cincinnati Conservation District. They don't have to give certain information out. So after reviewing that, I didn't notice that we didn't, in our report, in our files, which is supposed to be complete, that we did not have an inspection report that was current. The inspection report that was in that file is from 2022, February. The bids didn't come in until 11 of 2023. So the report of inspection should have been after that date. Also, I noticed that the company that got the bid was the same company who had did pretty much the report in 2022. I found that odd. But anyway, I'm still waiting to see. I put in another public records report because I hate just keep taking you guys to Court of Claims to get these public records. So I put in another public records report. I haven't heard back from you, David, yet. It should have been a simple request since it should have been in the file, but I haven't heard anything from you. Also, I'd like to comment on the Summit Park project. That's a great addition, $80,000+ in all that equipment. But it concerns me that you put that much money into playground equipment, but you didn't grade the 3 baseball diamonds there, didn't put any chalk lines there, and you keep saying that this field is safe to be played on, and yet you didn't do any other modifications but have a playground. I wish somebody give me some clarification on that. We got 3 baseball diamonds that are grassed in, not playable on any official, athletic program. So you put all this money into put this equipment there, and you don't finish it up by beautifying the park completely. You put chalk lines out for parking. It's confusing me as to where our mindset is here. I am tempted to suggest that we ask for mandatory drug testing just to get a perspective on what's going on with council and their decision making. I mean, you are employees, and people have pre-employment drug screenings. I don't know why that should be any different for anybody that's working for us. But these are things that really concern me, especially that the strategic plan, we've heard nothing of it in months.
You have about a minute.
We haven't done it in months. We don't have financial reports. We don't get updates. In August of 2023, we had paint spill. That was when Mayor Lofty was still there, and he said he would give us update for honesty and transparency purposes. We haven't got an update, clarification. September the 13th, we had another one. No updates. Aren't we as residents entitled to be informed of what's going on in our community? I think I left you about 10 seconds, Dave. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Is there anyone else that wishes to address council? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on with the agenda. So we are now to ordinance 2024-14, and that is, get the official page. This is an ordinance authorizing amendment of the 2024 appropriations of the general fund and declaring an emergency. David, can you give us some background on this particular ordinance?
Certainly, thank you, Mayor. This ordinance covers a number of appropriation changes within the general fund this month. The first is an increase to account for a grant from the Ohio Attorney General's office that the police department received for 75% of the replacement cost of new bulletproof vests. The village is required to match with 25% of the total project cost of $10,600. So once those are purchased, the village will pay the $10,000 and then receive reimbursement for 75% of that. The second is an increase to the personnel side of the fire department budget. As you may or may not know, we did have Ohio Workers' Comp review our employee classifications and found that we needed to update the classification for volunteer firefighters. That was earlier this year. That did use the entire fire department workers' comp budget. This $4,500 is an estimated number to get us through the remainder of the year based on those expenses. I do not anticipate this will be the same level for the remainder or for next year, but because the previous amount was catching up several years prior. So this is to get us to the end of the year, and then when we do the budget next year, we'll get the updated amount for next year. As we'll talk later this evening, the next item is an increase of the refuse budget of the general fund, $22,000 in operating expenses for the renewal of the solid waste contract with the village. I went out to bid. Rumpke was the only respondent on the bid. About $15,000 of this $22,000 will be recovered through utility billings to residents for the cost of trash recycling collection. So the amount that remains is for the village's facilities for collection of dumpsters and other waste generated by the village. And then finally, two appropriation increases, for the mayor's court budget. The first is a $3,000 increase on the personnel side. This is to account for additional overtime for the mayor's court clerk for the remainder of the year. Last year's budget, the mayor's court clerk was split between police and the mayor's court budget, and her overtime utilized the police department's overtime. So this year, now that she's entirely in the mayor's court budget, we have a clear idea of what that dollar amount is and should be going forward for her position only. And then finally, $3,500 to account for training and the professional service fees for the magistrate for the remainder of the year. Any questions? I'm happy to answer.
David, are we on the mayor's court personnel? Are we able, I mean, I know that spot reports to the police chief, Chief Walsh, but are we able to juggle overtime? Are we able to schedule a 40-hour week where we're flexible with hours so it doesn't kick into overtime either after hours or on a weekend, or am I asking that right? Are we able to keep it within 40 hours if the 9 to 5 workday hours are more flexible?
It depends on what her workday looks like. I mean, some days she's heavier, some days she's lighter. It's not all the time, but and she flexes her time on Thursdays to come in late for mayor's court already. And then she spends a lot of her time on Friday in between answering phone calls and taking fingerprints to get the mayor's court, everything into the mayor's court system, which takes a while with the amount of tickets that we've been writing. So I don't know if flexing it or anything of that like that would help or not.
But I think the chief and I discussed this
Yeah.
briefly along with some other police department and issues, and this one in particular is mayor's clerk, which relates to you. And it seemed at that time there was some thinking that we could try to adjust the schedule a little bit more, where if the mayor's court takes longer, maybe you come in even a little bit late on Friday.
Yeah.
And to try to avoid the overtime situation, since we did not budget any overtime for this particular position, and we'd like to try to keep within budget. So I think we can help watch it, but it maybe not 100% of the time can we avoid it, but we're gonna try to.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
David, your proposal is to cover this through, like, the additionals to the budget?
Mm-hmm. General fund reserves.
Okay.
These are all general fund expenses.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, are there any other questions about these changes? Okay, is there a motion for ordinance 2024-14?
So moved.
Second.
And is there a motion to dispense with the three reads?
So moved. Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
For ordinance 2024-14, to dispense with the three reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basement.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-14, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basement.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 2024-14 passes. Next, moving on, is ordinance 2024-15, an ordinance authorizing the amendment of 2024 appropriations of the State Street Fund and declaring an emergency. David, can you give us background on this, please?
Thank you, Mayor. This was discussed in our most recent Streets Committee meeting. So for those of you that were at that meeting, this will be a bit of a repeat. And this ordinance 2015 will pair with 2016 this evening. The Society of the Transfiguration has approached the village regarding the stormwater infrastructure on what I know is Short Albion. That is technically, I suppose, Albion Avenue, that across from Osprey Lane. That area, Bethany has, and the Society has done a lot of work on their property to regulate stormwater, specifically on the western side, but on the eastern side, they've done work as well. And they've routed stormwater into the public right-of-way, which is the appropriate action. They have approached the village about installing improved stormwater infrastructure within the right-of-way along Short Albion to connect with about 276 feet of underground pipe to connect to existing stormwater infrastructure to assist in routing that water underground so it does not flow over the street on Short Albion. It doesn't flood the side of the road or create any other issues or problems. They have approached the village with this proposal and requested financial support from the village for this work. The idea was discussed with Kleinger's, our engineering group, and they're comfortable with the design, and ordinance 16 here will address some of the specifics of the project. This is a stormwater improvement in the public right-of-way and is being done at a pretty significant savings of about 75% of what it would cost to do this work out of pocket for the village that's being done by this by the society. So it is, in my opinion, a good opportunity for the village to improve stormwater infrastructure, and this appropriation would increase our ability to do that using state street funds, so no impact on the general fund and no impact on VPGI.
So questions about the ordinance?
How does that affect the state street funds? I don't know what the balance is in that fund.
State street funds exceed $400,000. We keep a balance in those funds for, more recently, the SAMI sealing or chip and seal coating work that we would be doing. With all the streets in the village in good condition, except for the ones that are going to be getting new water mains over the next few years. That work is being put on hold until we can generate a balance to do full repaving on those streets that are getting replacement water mains. So in essence, $25,000 is a drop in the bucket for that state street fund.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Yes, David, is there any other work on Shore to Albion that's planned in addition to this?
The water main replacement, which would be taking place, if not this year, then next summer. So that work would be going on. But that water main exists within the roadway, within the asphalt area.
Right.
This is within the grassy area between the Chapel Drive all the way up to the corner of Albion and Albion.
Right, okay, thank you.
Have we by chance heard back on estimated total cost of the project?
So the estimated total cost of the project, including pre-construction, engineering, design, everything included, is about $93,000. Now,
On that right of way?
for this project,
Okay.
yes. The construction phase is $75,000. So the village's portion would be about a third of the construction cost on the project. From my perspective and from Kleiner's perspective, even at $93,000, it is still a pretty significant savings of what the village would pay to do this work, while having the benefit of the village's engineers' oversight and having another contractor who is already working on the property complete it.
Okay, anything else on this one? I think the other thing that that probably needs to be said here is that the combination of resources from the Sisters of the Transfiguration, or Society of the Transfiguration, I should say, and Glendale in improving the water infrastructure in that whole area. We've spent hundreds of thousands, a lot of time. It's been a good cooperative effort. This is an improvement that's somewhat brought on by Bethany's water flow going towards the east of their property, but it is actually infrastructure that belongs to the village and will belong to the village when construction's done.
Correct.
So I think it's a continuation of what's been a good partnership to deal, a good private-public partnership to deal with water or stormwater runoff in that entire area. So I'm glad we're able to participate in this. So we have a motion for this, not yet. So is there a motion for the ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
And is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
For ordinance 2024-15, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Verchel.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-15, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Verchel.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So 2024-15 passes. The next ordinance is related, ordinance 2024-16, an ordinance authorizing the administrator to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Society of the Transfiguration related to the installation and maintenance of a stormwater pipe along Short Albion Avenue. And we left off declaring an emergency. So I'd like to make a friendly amendment to this ordinance, if that's okay. Would someone like to make a motion for the amendment to add declaring an emergency?
So moved. Amendment to go ahead and declare emergency.
Okay, second? All right, do we have to call the roll for that, or would it be voice vote? So all in favor of adding that language, say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? So the friendly amendment passes. So now we're back to the ordinance, which I have read, including and declaring an emergency. David, can you give us the background?
Of course. So following the presentation to the Streets Committee regarding this project, there was some comment made about ironing out the details related to the ownership and maintenance of the pipe. And thanks to Ms. Ryan for putting this MOU together very quickly to cover very simply the conditions under which the project would proceed, largely saying that the village engineer would be involved in the project from the beginning and from the planning to the actual construction phase, and that the village would pay its portion directly to the contractor, who would bill us specifically for the amount that would constitute our portion, and then finally that the village would maintain and have ownership, control, and maintenance of the infrastructure once it was installed. The society has reviewed this and has approved it in concept. There are potentials, which is why this is written to say a substantially similar document. In the event of small adjustments, it would still stand, but that the conditions listed here would remain the same.
Okay. Any questions about this ordinance? No? Okay. So is there a motion for ordinance 2024-16?
So moved.
Second.
And is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, could you call the roll for this?
For ordinance 2024-16, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basement.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-16, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basement.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. So ordinance 2024-15 passes. I'm sorry, 16. The next ordinance is ordinance number 2024-17, an ordinance authorizing amendment of the 2024 appropriations of the village plan and general improvement fund and declaring an emergency. David, this has to do with a fire department grant. Can you give us some detail, or would the fire committee prefer?
Started off.
What's that?
Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'll cover the fun parts.
Okay.
The fire department secured 2 grants that they'll tell you about here shortly. And those 2 grants, in addition to the remaining appropriations from the beginning of the budget, or late last year, for the replacement of turnout gear, means, bottom line, that the VPGI fund would only be impacted $6,600 for these 2 projects by the end of the year. So the grants are funding significant portions of these equipment replacements, and that the village plan's impact would only be a negative of $6,600 for these 2 projects. So I'll turn it over to Chief Lerman.
Yeah, thank you. So like David said, the first one is for the FEEG, which is Firefighters Exposure, Elements Exposure Grant, and that's for 5 sets of turnout gear. This grant was only available to volunteer fire departments, so we were selected for that. So, and that's the first one. And the second one is the SIG, which is the Safety Intervention Grant, and that is for the complete set of Jaws of Life, replacing a 22-year-old set of Jaws of the cutters, spreaders, and rams that we would use if someone was trapped in a vehicle in an auto accident, and we could rescue them out very quickly compared to what we have now. These new tools are battery operated, same battery platform that some of our other tools have, so that's interchangeable. There's no hoses and loud engines that run. It's all battery electric. They've been out in the industry for probably the last 15 years and have been proven, so we're confident that these tools will last us, no doubt, another 25 years after this purchase. So we appreciate your support in these 2 grants.
Okay. So any questions about this ordinance? Sounds like a good deal to me. and congratulations on
Yeah.
appropriating the grant.
Thank you.
So is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, is there a motion to dispense with the 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
In a second? All right. Madam Clerk, I think we can call the roll.
For ordinance 2024-17, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-17, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 2024-17 passes. Before we go to 18, is there anything we need to be concerned about out in the hallway? No? Okay. I can't see. All right. So we'll move on now to ordinance 2024-18. An ordinance authorizing amendment of the 2024 appropriations of the sewer operating fund and declaring an emergency. David, again, can you give us some information about this?
Certainly, thank you, Mayor. Back in 2021, the village was awarded a loan for $89,600 towards the planning phase of the sewer CMOM project. At the time, the full amount was not encumbered against EES, the village's engineering vendor, and as a result of the transition to UAN, because the full amount was not encumbered, the remaining appropriation, which is the $16,700, was lost and was not usable for purposes of continuing the work. $72,900 has been spent so far. This appropriation increase would permit the spending of the remainder of that. It is loan funded, loan proceed funded, so the net effect is $0 to the sewer operating budget. And this will free up the remainder of that money to continue with the work.
Okay. See, it seems very well explained, David. Thank you. Is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
For ordinance 2024-18, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-18, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemith.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ordinance 2024-18 passes. Our next ordinance is ordinance number 2024-19, an ordinance authorizing the village administrator to enter into a 5-year service agreement for solid waste collection services with Rumpke of Ohio, Inc., lowest and best bidder, following a public bid and declaring an emergency. So, David, you may give us a little background. I think everyone received information about this a few weeks ago. Okay.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, in mid-March, we put out to bid the solid waste collection services for the village, and on the first week of April, we received, where I would typically say bids, but bid from Rumpke Waste and Recycling for these services. Rumpke was the only respondent, and as a result, are the lowest and best bidder. They're under Section 2 is the annual pricing per unit per month. This does, as the memo covered, constitute an increase over existing costs, but is still, according to the Center for Local Government, who I spoke with about our bid results, is on the lower side of average of what they've seen for communities when they go out to bid for trash and recycling services. The services are identical to what the village currently enjoys. So large item pickup every week and weekly recycling collection. Other services like can rentals and backdoor pickup are available for the residents who contact Rumpke directly. So, thank you.
Are there any questions about this particular ordinance?
What kind of increase is this, or is there an increase? The $13 doesn't mean
There is an increase. I apologize. I don't
recall,
have.
unless I'm wrong,
I-
I think
I
the
have the
first
memo.
one was 10, and then thereafter it's 5% a year roughly, I think, which we could calculate if we.
Yeah, I think we'll have to share that with residents if this happens.
The previous appropriation increase of 22,000 covers the increase for the remainder of the year, with 15,000 of that being estimated revenue on utility billings, which will be increased to reflect the new Rumpke bill.
Okay.
So what is the net effect on my bill? It's $45.
If you give me just a moment, I'll find my copy of the
It is an increase.
memo. It is an increase. I believe it's approximately $10 a quarter for the first year.
Okay.
10 per quarter? Okay. All right. So I can't, now I'm pulling back. Do we have a motion for the ordinance? Not yet. So is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved.
Second.
And is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
For ordinance 2024-19, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Baseman.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-19, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Baseman.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. So ordinance 2024-19 passes. The next is ordinance 2024-20, an ordinance authorizing assessment on certain properties in the village of Glendale for unpaid utility bills and declaring an emergency. This is something that probably none of us likes to see, where we have to actually enforce collection for payment of bills, but David will expound on this a little, but I think we have tried for a long period of time with all of these properties to collect their unpaid water bills. We're all paying for water in the village of Glendale. In order for this to work, everyone needs to pay their bill. So, David, would you explain what's happening with this
Certainly.
ordinance?
Thank you. Pardon me, these balances largely remain following the COVID pandemic, when we put a hold on shutoffs for utility customers that were unpaid. And as a result, a lot of customers that did have previous balances did make themselves current. A number did not, as you can see. So in addition to the quarterly bills, which maintained a statement of account showing how much was due, each of these accounts received a letter that indicated to them that they would be assessed at this meeting for unpaid utility amounts, and none of the accounts attempted to make payment within the deadline stated in the letter. They were given several weeks' notice of the upcoming assessment in addition to their quarterly utility bills. So unfortunately, these accounts have reached a point where assessment of these amounts due is the best course.
David, would you be able to tell us how many warnings someone got, or how old, how far back some of these amounts go?
Some of these amounts are easily 3 or so years old.
Okay.
And like I said, remaining from COVID. And in addition to the quarterly utility bills, which had these running balances on each billing, reminding them of how much was due. A number of these accounts have received multiple notices, but every account has received at least one direct mail notice that they would be assessed for this amount due well in advance of the season.
Question, is it a registered letter? So we receive
It is not
signature?
it is not a registered letter, but it is direct mail to the property addresses on file that we have. Some of these accounts have made payments. In fact, all of these accounts have made payments. It's a question as to when those payments were made. Some of these accounts had not made payments as back as October or November of last year.
But since the payments you've received, these amounts still exist?
Correct.
This is the balance, okay.
Correct.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we cut off water?
We do. Now that we are firmly out of the pandemic,
Okay.
we are returning to
At what
call it a
point
zero.
at what point do we turn it off? I mean, is it, you have to be 6 months in arrears, a year, you know?
We're addressing each account individually. We have a number of accounts that are making regular payments that still have large balances, but because they are making regular payments, we're working with them individually.
And they're not on this list.
They're not on this
Okay.
list, correct.
Yeah.
But for other accounts that, that are attempting to catch up, we work with them, but for some accounts, shut off and further assessment is the only option that generates a response.
I would think. I didn't know that if we could do it.
We can and we do.
Okay.
Do you have a timetable in your head going forward on the?
What's that?
If you don't hear from someone, if they don't pay a nickel, do you have a timeframe that you're thinking?
So we are going to resume, and fair warning, Facebook may light up. We are going to resume with shut-off notices with the most recent billing, the accounts that have not made payment, notifying them that they will be disconnected for non-payment. And that includes accounts that are drastically in arrears, that are not making payments otherwise. But that will be a quarterly exercise.
Okay, the question, I'm sorry.
What is the time frame when you notify these people? Are you giving them 30 days to?
In excess of 30 days. The previous notices went out at the end of March.
So
Okay.
David,
No, but I mean,
How long until you?
What's that?
how long before you turn it off?
Oh, they're given nearly the full quarter. So for the accounts that were billed in April, they won't receive a shut-off. The shut-off notices will be dated likely mid-June. So they're given a substantial amount of time to make payment, in addition to receiving 3 mailed notices. The original bill, a late past due bill, and then a shut-off notice that is actually posted at the property.
so how many, 2,000 residents, how many in arrears at roughly? I want to get a scale.
Don't have a firm
Roughly.
number. I would say probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 or 30 accounts
Got
that
it.
are
Thank you.
that are in some level of arrears.
Yeah, okay, that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you.
But many are working.
But many are working with us, or just have large balances because of
Got it.
large usages.
Thank you.
Any other questions about this?
So you're saying these just have not made payment in a long time?
Correct. Or their payments are sporadic. There's no attempt to communicate with us as to when they would be able to make payments. As I said, we have accounts that have large balances that make regular payments that do not address the amounts that they have due, but we allow them to continue to make those payments against their account without putting them to this assessment process. But these accounts have not been diligent in making payment.
And then these are well known to the village, I mean, the village administration, you know.
Unfortunately, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're well known to us. Based on the address.
Is there a motion for this ordinance?
So moved. Second.
Second. Is there a motion to dispense with 3 reads?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
For for ordinance 2024-20, to dispense with the 3 reads, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
For ordinance 2024-20, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ordinance 2024-20 passes. For resolutions, is this a voice vote or is this a roll call?
It's a roll call, just no waiver,
No
no
waiver of
readings,
the 3 readings.
needed.
Okay. So, the next item is a resolution, Resolution 2024-12. A resolution requesting the county auditor to certify the current tax valuation of and the amount of revenue that will be produced by a renewal of the 10 mil levy to provide funds for the current general operating expense of the village of Glendale, Hamilton County, Ohio, pursuant to section 5705.19A of the Ohio Revised Code as required by section 5705.03B of the Ohio Revised Code. So, somewhat self-explanatory, but David, will you give us some background as to what we're doing here?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. This resolution is the first step in getting the renewal of the village's 10 mil general fund levy on the ballot this November. That levy is coming up for renewal this year. It is one of 3 voted levies that the village has. The other 2 are the 8.5 mil and the 2.5 mil, which were voted on 2 years ago. This constitutes, as it says here in the ordinance, approximately $990,000 of the village's general fund revenue for the year. You'll be seeing a resolution in the coming months to actually put the question on the ballot, and that will be paired with this resolution down to the Board of Elections to put this question on the November ballot.
And this is simply a renewal of the levy from 4 years ago?
Correct, and this levy predates Ohio's change for the tax rollback, meaning that residents enjoy essentially a discount on how much this levy costs, which is the purpose of renewal as opposed to replacement, because that would be otherwise removed unless the village renews the levy.
And if this were modified in any way, we would get it.
Exactly,
Right.
yes.
Do you know what
Village
to-
would get more money, but residents
Right,
would
of
pay
course,
more money.
of course. I'm looking out for you.
That's right. So, any questions about this particular?
Yes. In this renewal, will it reflect the recently modified property values? Or does it come back to 4 years ago?
Because this is a renewal, it will not. The amount is flat. The amount of money that the village can receive, the total amount is flat. Now, there are increases for things like construction, additions, new property value, but as far as the reassessment of properties done in the last year or so by the auditor, it won't have a
No effect.
significant impact on this, correct?
So this renewal is good for 4 years?
Correct.
Yeah.
And how indefinitely can we
Forever.
renew it?
Forever, as
Just
long as residents
Yeah,
pay.
so as long as it remains voted on.
in perpetuity?
But that property base stays constant forever.
Forever.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's good and bad.
Yeah. Other questions? All right. Is there a motion for this resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll?
For Resolution 2024-12, Ms. Masenko,
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth, Mr. Kreidler,
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge,
Aye.
Ms. Fleury,
Aye.
Ms. Rochelle.
Aye.
Thank you.
So the resolution passes. Next is Resolution 2024-13, a resolution adopting amended rules of council. So I believe the Laws Committee reviewed the rules of council, came up with a couple of changes. Joan or David, who wants to take this one?
Well, should we do it after the committee report, or do you wanna do it now? I mean,
We can do it now. We should do it now.
all right,
Do
okay,
you want me to go? Or you
all
want
right. You wanna address it, or you want me to?
I'm on a roll, so why not?
Right, go ahead. Rock, paper, scissors.
So the laws committee met and reviewed the rules of council. There were a number of changes that were proposed. This evening's resolution includes 2 adjustments to the rules, which I would classify as perhaps the most significant coming out of the meeting of the committee. First, on rule number 6, council vacancies. The language has been updated to indicate that the clerk shall publish a notice within 5 days as a rather of notifying the local newspaper. I don't know if many of you subscribe to the Cincinnati Court Index or not, but that is our publication of choice. And its reach is very, very narrow. So this leads it to a public notice, whatever, there's some interpretation there, but it is a notice. The next and final change in these rules is under Rule 12 and is the most substantial of the changes. It essentially equates to a rearranging of council's agenda. This would, if voted on, would take place at the next meeting. The primary change is moving the reports from the mayor, administrator, standing committees, treasurer, and clerk fiscal officer to prior to council's business. The benefit here being that the council has the opportunity, council and the public have an opportunity to hear these items being discussed before they come to the committee or come to the council for vote, which would then hopefully, and everyone should remember me saying this, mean that voting goes quickly because all of these items have been discussed at length prior to. And then other smaller housekeeping changes, miscellaneous council business, and then finally expanding the final section to include all financial reports as it does currently. I will turn it over to you, Ms. Rochelle, if you have any additions or changes?
No, we did consider other rules. David worked with Ms. Ryan on evaluating whether or not that language, any other language should be changed for public meetings and the what am I trying to say? Give me a minute here. Public records, all those rules. We considered all of them, and these were the substantive changes that came from it.
Okay. Any questions?
Yes, I'm curious if there was discussion on the mayor and administrator and committee reports happening before public presentation in order to give as a way of sharing information, possibly before questions are asked and that sort of thing.
We did consider that. We did look at these, our neighboring municipalities, and we looked at how they did it. We looked at a number of things, and it was felt that this was the best way to have public comment and then have the actual committee meetings, committee reports, excuse me.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. So is there a motion for this ordinance?
So
Okay.
moved.
Before we start, is there, if this is a resolution, help me understand, we don't waive three reads?
Don't need
Correct.
to.
There's no 3 reads to waive.
Okay,
So it will become effective for next meeting.
right, I just, it's a resolution, I thought all resolutions had, okay.
Yeah, the ordinance would require, and the ordinances require the waiving of 3 reads, resolutions do not.
And the changes or acceptance of council rules unchanged are typically resolutions.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So is there a motion for the ordinance?
So moved.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second. All right, Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
For Resolution 2024-13, Ms. Masenko.
Aye.
Mr. Basemuth.
Aye.
Mr. Kreidler.
Aye.
Ms. Baldridge.
Aye.
Ms. Fleury.
Aye.
Ms. Verschow.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So that concludes our business section of the meeting. Next is reports from mayor, village administrator, standing committees, and special committees. So for the mayor's report, we have a few things to talk about. The 4th annual Volunteer Day occurred, I believe, on April 27th. If I have that date right.
Yes.
And it was very well attended by a lot of our community, and a lot of our village staff had a hand in getting things prepped for that day, and I think it went very well. A lot of work got done cleaning up mulch beds, remulching, planting wildflowers, cleaning up of some of the green belts, removing sticks and cutting up some of the dead wood that was up there, painting. It was organized by Bev Rickoff and Cindy Taylor again, with assistance from many people. So that was kind of a good testament to Glendale and our community spirit. Wonderful day. We have coming up our Memorial Day parade and ceremony this month. That's currently being organized. Hildy Von Haas and Lisa Spalding are in charge of that, along with a cast of thousands, including some of our village personnel and other village volunteers, and our council's got their hand in it as well in certain areas. One of the main things here is if you know of any veterans who would like to march in the parade or participate in the ceremony, please get their names to Hildy or Lisa. Probably Hildy is better at this point. Lisa has still some family things going on, and with the passing of her father a few weeks ago. And if you know of anyone that wants to participate, but it would be better just to have them get her information to them, if they'd like to participate. Also, there's an essay contest which I think is well published with all of the schools around town. But Dr. Jenny Kilgore organizes that, and that's also something, if someone's interested, we can get her information to them. The Boy Scouts are still in the middle of their mulch sale. It began in April. They'll continue this month, Saturdays. You buy the mulch, they come and deliver it for you. It's a nice program for the scouts, and I think a lot of people take advantage of that every year. It's well priced, and it just, they do a very good job. For this meeting, there are two Glendale residents who passed away that we'll report on. One is Jack Murray, longtime resident, very involved in the village, just a wonderful individual. Anybody who knew him, I'm sure, would say they were privileged to know Jack. His wife, Lynn, survives him. He passed on April the 7th at age 91. And the other is Tom Goujon. He was a 8-9 year partner with Louise Allen, and just another wonderful individual. Was very soft-spoken, but when he did speak, it was either very funny or extremely intelligent, where I would have trouble following it. So, wonderful man as well. He passed on May the 4th at age 88. So could we have a moment of silence for those two folks? May they rest in peace. And then we have, for two that left us, we have two that were born into the village, so that's kind of nice. The first is Evelyn Maureen Grohl, who was born 3/9/24. Parents are Dan and Katie Grohl. And then the second is Robert, nicknamed Bear, Robert Bear Lyons Fander, born 4/15/24. His parents are Kara Lyons and Michael Fander. So welcome to the village, and David, will you see that they get a tree?
Of course.
Okay. I don't see addresses attached to that, but I'm sure they'll be easy enough to find.
Mine's live outside.
And that concludes the mayor's report. David, do you have an administrator's report?
I do, thank you, Mayor. Two very, very large projects have wrapped up or are very, very close to wrapping up this previous month. The Hedgerow Albion Stormwater Infrastructure Project is largely complete for development. Kleinger's and I toured the site last week to identify a few remaining small items. They will be doing some additional work in the area over the next few weeks, but nothing as major as what was done earlier this year. The pond project is complete. The engineer inspected it last week, inspected it last week, and found that Stauffer Site Services, who is not the same organization as the group that did the inspection in 22, I will add, did a tremendous job in building the pond. I think there's been a good public feedback on it, and I know the two Drake mallard ducks that are in the pond are enjoying it quite a bit. The reason that the full contract price has not yet been paid is because up until last week the project was not deemed complete. So typically we pay vendors when they're complete. So that would identify the discrepancy that a previous commenter had found. Summer Park Playground equipment is scheduled to be complete tomorrow. We were waiting on one final part from the manufacturer, and a well-timed call to the sales representative magically made that part ship very quickly. So that part will be installed tomorrow. Tom and the contractor will be doing a final inspection to make sure there are any last-minute items that need to get addressed, and then we'll get that equipment open for the children of Glendale. The strategic plan steering committee is going to meet next week. Those on the committee are going to get an email from me tomorrow. We're looking at the 13th. Everyone generally responded as available that day. We will be reviewing the survey results, and they have not been yet published to the public because they are not when they're not complete. We don't have the full version yet. Those will be reviewed by the committee at our next meeting and then be published to the village. And then next week on Tuesday the 14th, I will be taking the state of Ohio's required public records training on behalf of council, the mayor, and clerk and treasurer. So gifts are appreciated for that 4-hour training that I will be doing on your behalf. If you're interested in participating in one, I'm certainly happy to give you the information. But unless there are questions, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, David.
I have a question. Need some help with, please. I don't know how to approach it, but the council members received a forwarded letter from the solicitor this morning.
Yep.
I don't know whether that's something we can discuss here, but there are many questions about that I'd like clarification so that I can properly adhere to those policies. And I think that others may have questions as well. So what avenue do we take to pursue that?
So I would encourage anyone who has questions regarding that to contact me directly, and we'll follow up with everyone individually, those that ask those questions.
Okay.
Does that satisfy the question?
I think I might want to pursue it beyond the administrator.
Okay. If you find that necessary, would you want to call the solicitor then?
That may be best avenue.
Okay, well, if start with the administrator, obviously, and we won't be paying the solicitor for her services. But see if you can get your answers there, and if not, then
I understand.
maybe it's a conference between all three of you to make sure that everybody hears the same thing. Okay.
Agreed.
Okay, great. So, village administrator, now the standing and special committees. Will you please call the committees?
Absolutely. Finance Committee, please.
Finance did meet on April 16th, and I've sent out the draft minutes to everyone, and you'll see they're pretty detailed, but the best place to get a recap of that meeting was David's PowerPoint. He did a great job of displaying how the cash flow management process worked. The finance meeting was not a typical one with budgeting and spending and year-to-date committee budgets. Instead, we saw a snapshot of the village's existing cash and cash equivalents, and David made his recommendations going forward. Because of our fluctuating cash needs throughout the year, David recommended that the operating account maintain a balance of about 2.5 months of village operating expenses, and then the money market account a balance of about 7% of the village's total cash, and then the investment account would hold the remaining cash. This would amount to about a 7-7-86, so 7% checking, 7% money management, 86% investments, compared to what we currently have as a 3-6-91. So 3 cash, 6% MMA, 91% investment accounts. David noted that the cash can quickly and conveniently be transferred between the checking and the money market account, so this maximizes our annual interest earnings capabilities. Thank you, Clerk Terrell, Administrator Lumsden. The past months and years, each of these financial accounts does generate interest. So market rates are variable, but currently our operating checking account is about 2%, which is a lot better than my work one. Money market's about 4.6%, and the investments, Mike Beaugrand, I know we need to talk about this, but through the ladder that you've built over the years, the CDs and treasuries have laddered to about 4% ballpark, hopefully. So,
Not exactly,
but they are,
just a detail.
with rates increasing, they should. That should fluctuate upward quickly, hopefully. But anyway, we are going to have some internal meetings. Mike, unfortunately, was out of town, Beaugrand. So internally, we're going to meet, and then I expect probably early summer to have another finance meeting, and we can follow up.
If I may, I'm planning on wanting to meet with Finance Committee in June or July of this year to discuss capital forecasting and planning largely, as well as just the structure of the village's funds now that we've transitioned to UAN and we're fully running through UAN. I think we're going to continue our efficiency and simple structure for our funds to make it easier for council and the public to understand. So, a meeting sometime this summer.
Sure. Very good. Thanks. That's it, Becky.
Thank you. Fire Committee, please.
Fire Committee did not meet this month. I suspect will meet later toward the end of this month. certainly to catch up on things. So I'm just happy to turn this over to Chief Lehrman.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I just want to thank the members of council for voting the two grants in. That's really going to add and boost morale to the department. Not that it's low, but it's definitely going to help our membership there, and they definitely appreciate it. So I just want to thank you for that. Still working and finalizing our monthly report. Should have that to you this week. So again, just please bear with us getting that to you. The other thing that I just wanted to make note has been in the circulation for the weekly newsletter is the summer camp that we're doing in conjunction with the police department. Right now we have about 5 or 6 children signed up for that, looking to probably max that out around 15. So we're going to share that via Facebook the next day or two to try to generate some more interest in that. And then Chief Walsh and his team, we're going to meet and finalize the agenda for that. So that is out there, and we look to get that class full.
May I
That's all I
just
have.
interject?
Yes.
You've got one more coming. I'm trying to figure out how to do the sign up. So
Okay.
if you put it out on Facebook, whatever, like the best way to do it.
Yeah.
What's
Let's
the
talk after
age?
two.
What's the age bracket for that?
The age is 8 to 13.
Okay. Whew, there you go.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Laws and claims, please.
You know, my report was given a couple minutes ago. I just want everyone to know that the committee did meet April 2nd, and we had previously met a month before in order to talk about building on what the committee had done in last year, and I think we reached a good resolution of everything that we needed to, take a look at in a thorough evaluation of the rules. So, but other than that, David explained the resolution, and that's it. That's my report. We do not have a meeting scheduled yet.
Okay.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you. Parks and Recreation, please.
We did not meet this month. One of these days, we will have some items in which to discuss and meet about. The playground's almost done. I would like to schedule sort of a grand opening and ribbon cutting. So Mayor Bessel, I'll probably talk to you about that possibly this weekend if it really is ready to go by then. But we will have to fly by the seats of our pants on that.
I think we still have the big scissors.
Oh, that's true. Big scissors.
All right.
I think people are already using it and enjoying it very much, but it would be nice to celebrate.
It's a soft launch.
Okay.
Police Committee, please.
Police did meet on April 25th, and Chief Walsh and Sergeant Barber and Officer Wallace brought to our attention a new possible federal grant opportunity. With the hiring of a new police officer, 75% of the wages would be covered up to $125,000 up to 3 years. So we discussed that at the meeting, and the hopeful plan would be promoting an existing part-time Glendale officer to full-time status. And David is going to look into that to see if we possibly can do that, because when he handed out the spreadsheet, it looked like we could save about $60,000 over 5 years. So David's gonna take the next step on talking to the appropriate federal official on that. And then the second part of the meeting, we talked about a designated outdoor refreshment area, which you all know as the DORA. And this subject came up in early 2020, right before COVID kind of shut everything down. So the committee members asked a lot of questions, good questions, and back to David, who's going to do some more research, talk to his peers throughout nearby suburbs, municipalities, and we'll discuss that again in a future meeting. And I've not yet posted or I did send out the draft minutes, so I'll get those to you, David.
Mm-hmm.
And here is Chief Walsh.
Okay. I've got a special award to present tonight. Jerry, if you come forward. This is the Officer of the Year Award for 2023.
All right.
It was voted on. We asked for nominations from all the department. I got 2 nominations for Jerry. So Jerry was the top winner there. One of the nominations that we got was from Sergeant Barber for Jerry, and I'm going to let him read what he wrote on the form here.
I don't remember what I wrote, so I'll have to read it. During 2023, Officer Barnell provided exceptional service throughout the community while on patrol. He was involved in a large case involving burglaries in the village and conducted investigations surrounding the crimes, which led to the arrest and convictions of the suspects. Officer Barnell provided assistance and training to newly appointed officers through the department and provided years of experience and knowledge to ensure the new officers were trained and proficient to perform all job functions, to provide quality service to the residents and businesses of the village. Great job, Jerry. Thank you, sir.
On this award, it's the Joseph Hubbard Award. It says, in appreciation for outstanding loyalty to the Glendale Police Department and the village. It exemplifies Jerry to a T. He's out there on night shift. I think he's the only person I know that has worked the majority of his career on night shift. He doesn't want to be anywhere else but night shift. So, and I've got two more.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well done. Okay. I'll be right there. And I've got two more things when Jerry gets done making his walk of shame. If you remember last year, I told you we got a silver award from Lexipol for our performance with Lexipol and doing all our DTBs and everybody doing the training bulletins and everything else that we have to do, the acknowledgements and everything. This year we were presented the gold award, the highest you can get from Lexipol, so we completed everything. Every officer completed everything that we had to do last year to get the award for this year. Also, I've talked about before the Ohio Collaborative that we go through for policies and everything. We finally got our stage 5 final certificate from them for mass protest and officer wellness.
Nice. Congratulations.
So,
I've got a question of the chief if you're
I'm good. Go
if you're
ahead.
willing to take a question. Your report this month had a reference to loss of theft during the month of
$27,000.
Is that another digital hit or is that a
No,
physical?
that was a resident that saw a car online and he sent the money to buy that car and it was a scam.
Okay, so it wasn't,
Well,
it wasn't a physical break-in or anything?
No, it wasn't a
Okay,
physical
okay.
break-in. It was a scam.
Wow.
He does have insurance for that on his homeowner's policy. So there is a chance that he is going to recoup that money, but we're not sure yet.
Wow, thank you.
We talked to the people that it was a scam. It comes back, it's got a title up on a billboard or on a wall at a company, and they just changed the phone number to another number and used that, and probably 20 or so people have fallen for it.
Okay, thanks.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Public buildings and historic preservation, please.
We did meet on April 22nd. It was, I'll let these guys clear out. Basically just a review of the public buildings on the list and what needs to be done to them. We did discuss getting the memorial out here all gussied up for the ceremony. And it was being power washed today in the rain, so that is underway.
We discussed some work here on Town Hall, and it kind of came down to that there's some blooming in the plaster that has to be addressed before anything else cosmetic can go forward. And where that stands is I'm gonna have a one-on-one with Tom and just go over some things at a date that has not yet been determined. The minutes have been finalized, and I did send them to David for posting, so that's my report.
Thank you. Streets, public improvements, and lights.
We did meet last week, April 30th. We debriefed the two big stormwater projects and then just basically reviewed projects that are coming down the pike, upcoming things. It's an entirely new committee from what it was last year, so a lot of it was just all of us getting up to speed on what's happened and what's going to happen. I apologize for the delay in the minutes. I will have those out in the next couple of days.
Thank you. Utilities, please.
The Utilities Committee did not meet this month, although we met just prior to the last council meeting. And I would like to schedule, pardon me, a meeting for the Utilities Committee in the next week sometime. And I'll ask you offline to look at your look at your calendars. In the last committee meeting, we once again discussed the fact that the enterprise is going to operate at a deficit, and that we are faced with the need to potentially make some rate changes. I say potentially because we haven't really addressed that yet. So I would ask David help in getting some numbers that you suggested would be provided by the vendor, environmental engineering. And we had also at one point discussed what is the actual cost to us for unbilled water. That is, whether it's 100,000 gallons or whatever number is, what is that actual cost to us? And I'd like to be able to address that in the next utilities meeting. So if you would, please, I'd appreciate your help with that. And that's where we are right now for utilities. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So, report from the treasurer then?
I sent out our investment report for the month of April, and I mean, we're doing pretty good. We're on track to achieve our goal for the year. I'll have to meet with the finance chair to updating a little more on the details of our investment strategy. To make
The
sure
hopeful
that
number or the real number?
to make sure that we're talking the same percentages, but it's good percentages. But the fact that we're on a 5-year ladder, you have to remember we have some years that we're earning 0.7% on some of our CDs, and those are going to be maturing shortly, so we'll be able to consider reinvesting that money on something else. But so far so good.
Okay, and then our clerk, do you have a report?
I do. I want to thank everybody for attending the finance meeting, except for Mike, who was on vacation in Europe. So we'll get him caught up. We spent most of the time talking about the cash flow and the cash stuff, as Will mentioned earlier in the meeting. We kind of breezed through the bank reconciliation work that we did at the end, so that's one of the primary reports that we do, because we have to make sure funds and cash line up. So if you have any questions about that report, feel free to reach out to Denise or myself. Preferably Denise, because she actually knows what she's talking about. But I can help a little bit, because she's walked me through it and I have to sign off on it, so I know how it works. So that's it.
Okay, thank you. Finally, financial reports. We're in receipt of March 2024 financial reports. Is there confirmation of that? Or can someone make a motion that we receive those?
So moved.
So moved. Second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
And anyone who didn't receive them, no? Looks like everybody received them. Okay, and finally, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well done. That was a very big agenda.